July 25th, 2022 meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Hebert.
Here.
Chairman Hebert is present. Mr. Long. Here. Mr. Long is present. Ms. DeFlorio is excused. Ms. Taylor. Here. Ms. Taylor is present. Ms. Vecchio. Here. Ms. Vecchio is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone here who would like to address the committee at this time who did not sign up for the public forum? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the June 27th, 2022 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified by the end of the day of any changes. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
22-0228. Authorize intermunicipal agreement with the City of Rochester for limited access to the Monroe County Electric Pistol Permit Record System.
Moved by Legislator Taylor, seconded by Legislator Long. Is there any discussion? Legislator Long.
Through the chair, would you mind repeating the question?
My question was,
We've had previous agreements with RPD. This is an extension of that.
any other questions? Why is the access required? Why is the access required? I'm sorry, I will speak into
Through the chair, to the chair, this is an ongoing relationship that the county clerk's office has with our local law enforcement offices. We have it with county sheriff's office, but also with Rochester Police Department. If there's a situation where they need to have access, if there is a registered pistol permit holder or what there might be, that is why they have specific access to this for certain situations. And also there's limited members of those departments, mostly the firearm investigators, who would have access to our systems.
and the referral says it's limited access. What is there in the database they cannot?
To the chair, they do not have access to documents in themselves. They have some indexing information for what's on some of those documents, which would be information about a pistol permit holder and potential weapons on that permit, or if their status, if it's revoked, if it's been reinstated, if it's a valid permit.
I'm sorry, what is it they cannot access?
The documents themselves. There are no scans of images in this database that they can see.
Database does not have those?
Sorry?
Database does not have the specific documents?
To the chair, I'm just going to say that instead through the chair. It does. That is not the access that this arrangement allows law enforcement to have. They also do not have the ability to edit any of the records in the system. Only, again, anything that goes through the county clerk's office per state law is what gets amended with these records.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Vecchio.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration.
As soon as, through the chair, as soon as the legislature approves it and it is signed, it will take effect.
Was there an end date on this?
So the terms of this contract, or excuse me, intermunicipal agreement through the chair matches what we originally executed in 2016, which are the 3 years with the option of 2 one-year renewals.
Thank you. I think you had asked that. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 22-0236, authorize intermunicipal agreement with the Churchville Chi Central School District for reimbursement to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office School Resource Program.
Moved by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Vecchio. Is there any discussion? Legislator Vecchio. Other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
22-0237, amend Resolution 195 of 2019 to increase the intermunicipal agreement with the Fairport Central School District for the purchase of fuel for vehicles of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Moved by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Long. Is there any discussion? Legislator Vecchio.
Noted.
Noted. No further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Number 22-0242, authorize an appropriation transfer of the intermunicipal agreements with the City of Rochester and all towns and villages within Monroe County for continuing COVID-19 mitigation response actions.
Moved by legislator Taylor. I've been saying Smith, and my apologies. And seconded by legislator Vecchio. Discussion. Legislator Vecchio. Any other questions? Couple. What is the detailed breakdown of the amounts to be received by the city?
Mr. Chairman, the county administration has not yet attempted to negotiate, nor has it received a request for intermunicipal agreement. We are seeking to include authorization for IMAs in this referral because we know under the CARES Act, intermunicipal agreements were authorized by this body, and they proved themselves quite valuable when the counties sought community-wide distribution of PPE and other services.
How will the amounts be determined? Asked for? Is there a maximum for any given entity?
Mr. Chairman, the amount that would be made available to potential town, village, city would be subject to negotiation between the town administration and the county administration for the services we would be seeking and the reimbursement the towns would seek to receive. So it would be a negotiation, Mr. Chairman.
So if the largest of these communities, say the city, were to ask for all 20 million, it's conceivable they could get all 20 million?
No, Mr. Chairman, as outlined in the referral letter, the primary purpose of this referral is for a public health response to the pandemic. We are seeking $20 million, and while that is a sizable dollar amount, I would like to remind this body that the county spent $20 million of CARES Act funding on mitigation efforts and spent in excess of $30 million on vaccination and testing pods. With the new, I think it's called the BA2 variant, there is already ponderance of whether the states and local governments should establish vaccination sites. This funding would have to last for the duration of the ARPA funding, the ARPA allowable funding periods. So this would have to span multiple years. And rather than come back to this legislature in a piecemeal fashion, $20 million upfront seemed to be a reasonable segregation and allocation of the $144 million award.
So the administration won't be coming back to this body for further COVID mitigation funds?
I would love to tell you that, Mr. Chairman. I had to turn in my crystal ball, so I can't accurately predict what the next variants of the coronavirus may bring to our county. Having spent $20 million previously on mitigation and $30 million on vaccination pods, the lower amount of $20 million going forward seemed somewhat reasonable, given that new variants, while much more transmissible, are at least taking a lighter toll on the public's health. If we would have to seek additional funding for direct public health response and mitigation efforts, we would have to come back before this body, as the legislature must approve all uses of ARPA funding.
And this is the first use of ARPA funding that I can recall. So if this is approved, we still have $124 million when it's done?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. The legislature must authorize any transfer or use of ARPA dollars. So this referral would only be $20 million, leaving the entire remaining balance, $124 million and change, under this legislature's purview.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
22,
Sure. Sorry about the late notice, non-notice. Thanks for picking up. Did you read the next?
22-0252, authorize intermunicipal agreement with municipalities to operate temporary Department of Motor Vehicle services.
Moved by legislator Taylor, second by legislator Smith. Smith. I don't know why I got Smith on the brain tonight. By legislator Long. Is there any- I guess I have a couple questions on this one as well. In a meeting that was held by some of the legislators earlier this year with the clerk's office, they were told that mobile DMVs would be open by June, and it's now the end of July. Can you tell us why we're still without mobile DMVs and just seeing these IMAs now?
To the chair, one of the things that needs to be in place prior to a mobile DMV being rolled back out is the approval of this intermunicipal agreement, which we're hoping the legislature will adopt so it can be signed to empower the county clerk's office to enter into these agreements with our partners.
Thank you for that answer, but I'm not sure it answered why we didn't do this sooner when we were told it would be done by June.
As with any office, the county clerk's office had a number of other responsibilities. We successfully relocated a DMV for the first time in about 30 years. And that was one project that took a little bit longer than we expected this year. But this has been an ongoing effort. And in addition to working with the state of New York and the DMV in order to make sure we had all the necessary equipment, and also working with our CSCA partners and our unions to get a common understanding of what we need to take into consideration for this agreement, it took a little bit more time than anticipated.
Have there always been IMAs for the mobile DMVs in the past?
In the past, no, which is one of the reasons why we did seek this, because we know in the past there have been circumstances of injuries to the public, injuries to staff, and there is a new concern that's been brought to us from staff about security, and those are all things that are going to be handled in these agreements.
Could you provide to us, probably in writing later, some details of these IMAs? For example, is there a cost to the towns? Require them, wherever you're going to hold them to do? And can we receive some sort of a copy of what the draft IMA?
Can provide that.
Will the mobile DMVs return to their previous levels? Numbers and locations?
No, as previously discussed with other groups, we are not going to the full strength of the previous mobile DMV. It was consolidated from 2 units into 1 with updated equipment that's all provided by the state of New York that the county has to purchase. But we are looking at trying to make some strategic decisions about where to go. There's been several municipalities we've already had conversations with, and we are looking for some other suggestions as well.
Do you know what municipalities will have mobile DMV locations?
It all depends if the host is able to meet some of the new security requirements that we have. We've currently been in conversations with the Village of Brockport, the Village of Fairport, the Town of Ogden. We've had some preliminary conversations with Wheatland and also East Rochester currently.
Those 5 are the only ones you see as being mobile DMV locations?
We're open to further conversations. These are the only ones who we've had active conversations with in regards to other municipalities. We've also welcomed conversations about having specialized and targeted events, not necessarily a standing event, but bringing it in to targeted constituencies or for a particular day versus a rotating thing.
Will the dates and places be the same as will the dates be the same as they were previously in any of those towns? Rockport, I know, had one before.
We're determining what our host locations would like those to be. We have not set any dates yet.
When do you plan on getting the sites actually opened, or when do you plan to first provide service there?
We don't have any yet because first we need to have the approval of this intermunicipal agreement in order to go back to these host locations, because then each host location will need to pass something reciprocal from their local bodies as well. So it'll depend on those processes.
So you don't even have a target date?
We don't have a target
providing
date.
service to our constituents. I know a lot of us have received tons of questions, let's call it, not just complaints, but tons of questions about mobile DMVs. I know I've gotten, I'm going to guess, several dozen. I'm just wondering if there's anything we can tell them other than, well, it's still in the works.
Well, you can tell them they can come 5 days a week, 8:30 to 4:30, to all of the 4 existing DMVs that we currently have. We are open to walk-ins, and we've been since last year. So we do encourage folks. That's the best place that we can serve them. Unfortunately, we don't have a firm timeline at this moment for the outlines. We're hoping, though, with the approval from this body on this intermunicipal agreement, it'll allow us to get some quicker traction with our partners so we can try to get something opened late summer, early fall.
When did the state provide the weighted machinery? There was a bunch of stuff you guys claimed, you guys stated you were waiting on to receive from the state. When was that provided?
We did receive most of it. I believe there's still some printers, if we're going to be technical, that we're still waiting on. But we have received most of that updated equipment.
Referral states that there's no cost to the county if we're getting, and this is a potential 11-year agreement, correct? 5 plus 2 3-year extensions, I believe.
Correct.
So how can there be no cost to the county? Or is the state responsible for like maintenance of this new equipment, or have to maintain it? Who holds those contracts?
There is no cost to the county regarding these IMAs for hosting the DMVs at their different locations.
But there will be a cost to the clerk's office for the maintenance and stuff of the new equipment.
Those costs for operating mobiles are part of our operating budget.
Thank you. And I believe this is true. I believe the legislators that had meetings with you were told that you were short personnel at one point in time. We
still have a number of vacancies. All of our positions are civil servants. There was some testing that happened earlier this year that we're currently waiting on those lists until those lists are published by the state. That inhibits our ability to make some new hires.
So it's just CSEA stuff.
But through this, it's state civil service, yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Item carries. There being no other business to come before this committee, 5th, the meeting of the committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee will be held on Monday, August 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. For me to say.